Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see you all here today. I'm going to start our discussion this morning with a little bit of math. Have you had enough coffee to do some math this morning? Hopefully the answer is yes. So we're going to talk a little bit about measuring the human element today. Now, I want to start with a discussion of customer satisfaction. Now, for those of us who work in the customer experience arena, CSat at times can be the end-all and the be-all, the one metric that we want to achieve more than anything else. But there are some limitations with CSat that we need to be aware of. Let's decompose CSat into its equation and take a look at all of the elements. So first, with any particular interaction, whether it's in a call center, over a website, through a mobile app, it starts with someone friendly, a friendly interaction that you have. You feel good when you're having that touch point. We add to that a low degree of effort on the part of the citizen. Fast resolution, so you don't have to do a lot and it's super quick. You get your desired answer, and what do we get for all of those variables? Anybody? A high CSAT score. Mecca, right? For those of us who work in customer experience, that's what we strive for every day. But when do we measure CSAT? At the moment that we're having that transaction, at the moment of the touch point. But what ends up happening is that this doesn't always tell the full story. Let's look at what happens when we change one of the variables in this equation, where the desired answer is not actually realistic, not based in fact. So let's say you get the answer that you wanted, but it's not true. You get a high CSAT score, but what happens later down the line when you figure out that the information you got wasn't accurate? We're not really satisfied. So I love that Martha was talking about the disconnect between how we feel internally about our customer satisfaction and how the citizens are measuring CSAT for our agencies. That could be part of the disconnect that we're really realizing. So when you look at CSAT and really decompose it, actually some of the worst contacts may actually get the highest CSAT scores. I'm going to say that again. Some of our worst contacts get our highest CSAT scores, yet that's what we're focused on more than anything else. Now, I don't want you walking away thinking that Abby Herriman said CSAT is a bad thing. It's not. It's a critical part of what we measure to understand how well we're performing as we deliver the citizen experience. But it is not the end-all and be-all. There's more that we have to add to it. One of the things that we can do to really increase our understanding of how the citizen is really feeling and experiencing our services is to measure the journey. So Martha was talking just a second ago. She couldn't have set me up more perfectly. Thank you, Martha. So she was talking about journey mapping. And if we measure all along the journey instead of at an individual touch point, we get a much clearer picture of how people are really thinking and feeling about our agency's services. Remember that CX, or citizen experience, means the cumulative experiences across every touch point that you deliver, not just measuring CSAT at each touch point. That's limiting and problematic. We also need to remember that CSAT is only part of a more holistic picture. So when we're talking about measuring the citizen experience or the customer experience, we have to be more holistic in our thinking and look at other points of data. But as the title of my presentation implies, we need to really think about this from a human perspective. So let's walk in the shoes of a typical citizen. I want to introduce you to Ms. Claudette. She is 78 years old. She lives in Boca Raton, Florida, in a retirement community. And a couple of months ago, her friends all got together and threw her a birthday party in the clubhouse where she lives. So Claudette was sharing with some of her friends that she got a new diagnosis at her last visit to her general practitioner, and she's considering changing her health care plan. Let's take a look at how she proceeds along this journey. So to start out with, as she's telling her friends, they're giving her horror stories. Oh, it's going to take you so long to figure out what plan is right for you. Good luck with that. So her expectations are very low. And her initial expectation for CSAT is low as well. She calls the contact center, and she interacts with someone named Sarah, a CSR, who takes about 10 minutes, asks her 1 or 2 questions, gets her off the phone, and she has a new healthcare plan. So that interaction actually exceeded Claudette's expectations. She feels great. Sarah was so nice. And it wasn't hard at all. She didn't even have to talk a lot about her medications. So when she's passed over to the IVR for a survey, she scores CSat at a 9 out of 10. Pretty good, right? We're feeling good about that touch point. Let's take a look at what happens next. So she goes to the pharmacy to refill her medication, and what happens? Her pharmacist has to deliver the news that her most costly medication is not going to be covered by her new health plan. How's Claudette feeling now? If she were to rate her CSAT, she's scoring at about a 6. We're not feeling good. But not to be deterred, she believes that Sarah knew what she was talking about. She's going to go look for some more information. So she goes to the website. She goes to the web portal and she finds some information that indicates she may be stuck in her plan until the next open enrollment period a year from now. How's Claudette feeling now? Not good at all. So she's rating her CSAT at that point at about a 3. She hasn't lost all hope. She calls the contact center. After all, she had a really good experience before. She rated it a 9. She talks to someone named Terrell who confirms that she will have a full year in a bad plan where she's going to have to pay for these costly medications. So she's given a survey again at the end of that interaction, and how does she score it? A 1. So you can see the problem with measuring at these individual touch points. Which one was actually the best service that she received? That last one. That's when she got real, complete, total understanding of what was really going on. Back here, when she scored it a 9, that was the unicorn and rainbow answer that she wanted to hear, not what she needed to hear. So measuring along the journey, as you can see, and across every touch point, even those that are outside the purview of our agency, can give us a much better understanding of the level of service that we really are providing across the entire journey of an individual. So not only do we have to look at the journey, we have to understand the consequences of what we measure. We still need to measure CSAT. We need to put in some other measures to really understand our true performance. So I'll just give you a couple of examples. Call handle time. Anybody work in contact centers? Anybody measuring call handle time? Yeah, so what kind of performance does it drive? Remember the old adage, you get what you measure? Well, in this case, you get what you measure. And if you're measuring call handle time, you get dump and run behavior, high rates of transfer, high rates of call abandonment, very low soft skills. All the soft stuff goes out the window because we want to get them in, get them out, get them done. That's just one example of getting what you measure. Understand the consequences of the metrics that you're putting in place. So this is the audience participation portion of the presentation. May I have a volunteer, please? Somebody toward the front who can see my slides pretty well. Anybody want to help me out? Wonderful. What's your name, sir? Jerome. Jerome. This is my friend Jerome. Come on up here. Wave to the audience. You didn't think you'd be on stage today necessarily, did you?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you for helping me out. I want you to take a look at this slide and tell me what this is.
That's a dot.
That's a dot. So, Jerome, what does that dot mean?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Is it good?
I don't know.
Is it bad?
I don't know.
What should I do about it?
Something.
Jerome here is no help.
I'm helping.
He's helping. Okay, so what if we do this, Jerome? What if I give you a little more information? So we fill it out just a little bit. So what if this dot became that? What is that?
It's now a spot on a map, but I don't know what the map is.
Okay, so now it's taking a little bit of shape there. He's got a little more information. Why do you have more information?
Because you gave me a little more information. information with the map.
Right, because there are more data points to look at here. And then eventually, this is actually the process that CSat followed to paint this very familiar portrait that we are all familiar with. You know, you have a degree in art history, right?
I do now.
He did. He figured out Sunday afternoon at Le Grand Jatte. Perfect. Thank you very much. You can have a seat. So, bien sûr. So, what this tells us about business intelligence and data analytics that relates to customer or citizen experience is all about having, as Jerome said, you have to have multiple data points to make a picture. We can't just rely on one piece of data alone. We have to get a holistic picture of our true CX performance by looking at multiple indicators. One piece of data alone is merely directional. It's an indicator of performance. It says there may be a reason for you to dig further. It's that digging further. It's the investigative work that we need to focus on that really has a better impact on designing the ideal citizen experience and making the little tweaks over time that it will take to get CSAT and all of those numbers back up. So, data alone in a single point is not going to help us much. We have to have a holistic picture. So, where does the data come from? The answer? Everywhere. Anywhere you can find data, that's good. Use what you have. You don't have to launch a big, fancy, multi-million-dollar program. This is actually counterintuitive, seeing as how I sell services in that area. But anyway, you don't have to spend millions and millions of dollars to get the data that you need. There's probably good data already within your agency or organization today. So we look at our contact center monitoring tools and technology, mobile and web analytics, citizen surveys, social media monitoring. What I also want to emphasize is that your internal data can be as impactful, if not more impactful, than your external data. What we need to really focus on is creating more of a CX balanced scorecard. So that's something that we're working on with a client of ours called CMS. Anybody from CMS here? Nobody from CMS is here? How about US Patent and Trademark Office? We're working with them as well. Nobody here from there? Okay, well, they say hi. So we're working with them actively to create a balanced scorecard that pulls in all of the metrics, all of the data, to really create what CSat was doing with pointillism to understand the big picture. So I want to recall something that I shared with you when we were here last time. The citizen experience framework that we've developed focuses on not just the transactional, not just the single touch point, but also the relational aspects of the citizen experience. And within that, we have created a measure that also focuses on the internal measures. So it may be difficult to get the data that you need directly from the citizens. As I heard just a few minutes ago, nothing beats talking to the citizens themselves and gathering data, but we can start internally. Actually, we can consider this measuring the CX performance with citizens as being a lagging indicator. While if we look internally, those are our leading indicators of CX performance. Over 30 longitudinal studies have shown a direct link between employee engagement, for example, and subsequent customer satisfaction. Thank you again, Martha, for setting us up well for this point earlier. Employee engagement drives what CX needs to thrive. And those things are discretionary effort, reduction in absenteeism, so we have more people to perform the work, increased retention rates, so those with seniority and a lot of experience are there to serve citizens, and higher quality results. We're more focused on delivering perfection. We also need to look at operational processes, organizational boundaries, and spans of control. That is one of the biggest challenges to really being able to measure across the journey. As we looked at Claudette's experience, what we have found is that in many cases, those that are in ownership of the contact center, sometimes those live in the Office of Communications, for example, while your web or your mobile app, that lives within the CIO's office. So the organizational structure, the governance, the measurement, all of those things are running contrary to being able to really tie it all together and measure across the agency. Those are boundaries we need to work to break down. So we've developed the CX measurement framework to help you understand not just the lagging indicators on the citizen side, but also to look at what we're calling the employee experience. If you focus your efforts as much on driving employee engagement and culture change as you do the external measures, both relational, oh, that looks a little weird. We will send out the slides where they look a little better. Something happens in the translation, I guess. The external's transactional as well. If you're measuring both sides of the house, you're going to get a more full picture of your CX performance. I also want to share with you our CX maturity model. So it's important, especially if you're just starting on this journey of improving the citizen experience, that you understand where you are today. How do you measure your agency's performance overall? So this maturity model will allow you to kind of rank yourself in terms of the levels of maturity, from ad hoc to understanding, to optimization, to integration, to transformation, and ultimately to connection. And that's all about cross-agency, working together and really providing a full realm of service between agencies. And we look at this in terms of people, process, technology, analytics, and reporting. So every aspect of your business feeds into your ability to deliver and to measure the citizen experience. So we don't want to just hand you this maturity model. We want to help you assess where you are. So there is a maturity assessment that we can provide that actually shows multiple views of CX maturity, your dominant maturity level, cultural versus operational balance. So that is, how are you doing on the soft part of CX versus the more operational transactional part of CX? And this report can provide you some potential actions and help you develop more of a roadmap of where you need to go next. In your packet on your chairs, you have a CX quick check that we've provided. If you don't want to go through the full-blown assessment, take 10 minutes. Check the boxes off. This is the Cosmo quiz version. It won't tell you how to be a better kisser to your boyfriend or girlfriend, but it will give you an assessment in a very short amount of time of where you stand in terms of CX. So where do we start? Getting to be a Surratt in terms of business intelligence and data analytics around CX starts with one single point. And here are some of the questions we need to ask ourselves and our agencies as we're moving down the path of measuring CX. Do we have a citizen-centered vision and mission for your organization is probably the biggest first step. So I loved what Brenda said first thing this morning about being mission-driven and data-informed. That is the perfect approach that we need to take within each agency. Have you identified some quick wins? Have you tied your agency's KPIs to citizen outcomes and results, not your own internal ones? Do you know how engaged your employees are? Surveys can tell you that. There's data out there. And are those on your front lines of your agency empowered and committed to delivering CX outcomes? These are some key questions to start to think about it along your journey. So just to summarize, time is of the essence. Don't worry about getting big pieces of data or doing anything fancy. Get the information that's readily available to you. Work incrementally while thinking strategically. Measurement and data are essential in understanding the problem, but change is only going to happen when we focus on people as well, not only externally, but also those leading indicators internally. Don't forget about those. Of course, take CSat with a grain of salt. It is a very good metric to track when taken in conjunction with multiple other metrics. Measure the journey, not just the touch points along the way. Look at the cumulative experience that someone's having with your agency. Measure internally as rigorously as you measure externally. You've got a lot ready access to your internal employees than you do the citizen. So use those as your leading indicators of performance and work together Join ACT IAC. Join some of your internal communities of practice around CX. You have the answers in pockets of folks already in this room. Rely on one another to start the change within your agency. Hold contractors, partners, and all employees at every level accountable for citizen experience. Make sure that they are empowered at the same time they are accountable. And remember that measuring the human element, of course, begins with understanding people. Thank you very much.